How was the emotional roller coaster for you?
Yeah, I mean, it was good. It was tough seeing him go down, but, we're just pointing to the sideline, getting him treatment and whatnot to get off the field and bring someone else back on. Luckily, we have been gaining depth in that position, so we're able to rotate the line around and get some guys out there and still be a good offensive line.
To see what Ryan has done, and I know you guys, he's been up with the first team basically since the second week of fall camp. Is this even for you as a true freshman playing that spot? Has that impressed you?
Yeah, that's really impressive. I know personally I was not up there as a true freshman. So for him, he's been still gaining so much progress, especially throughout this season. You can just see how much he's improved, so it's really good that he's now able to really rotate in on the offensive line and be out there.
Well, I know we talked way back in August about you and Griff being the mainstays. Describe how the offensive line has progressed from fall camp to where you are now in week 12.
Yeah, it's been great. I mean, fall camp, none of us have ever really played together except me and Griff, so we're going out there just hoping to gel together. And, we'll get there eventually. And then, obviously, as fall camp went on, the first couple of games, we've started to play really well together. So it's definitely good to see how much we've glued together as offensive line.
I know we talked a while ago about your personal journey here. In your wildest dreams, though, to have this kind of, personal success and obviously team success, I mean, would you have believed that when went the portal, 16 months ago?
Honestly, probably not. Luckily, things are great. They're going great so far, so we just got to keep it rolling and just keep stacking wins up.
When you look back at it, what stood out, knowing full well what you knew about NDSU, to say this was the place I wanted to be?
The legacy that it has. I mean, the championships, the people that it produces into the NFL, everything about it. Then coming here on my visit and seeing the facilities that we have here and how everybody goes about their business once you get here and talk to people and are working in the weight room with them, it's like, yeah, this was the place to be.
To have such a distinct connection with NDSU now with Tyler there, describe that with your dad as well, coaching with the Lions and having that, because it seems the more, the older I get, the smaller the football world gets.
Yeah, I know, it really is. I mean, I came here and Coach Roll was probably only here for a couple of weeks before he left, but now we live in the same neighborhood, so I'll just be driving out and see him and like, hey, Coach, how's it going? So it's pretty cool.
Describe that of just, he left, you came in, and now to have him working with your dad has got to seem surreal.
Yeah, no, it's really cool just coming in and then seeing how much he's made it up in the coaching ladder, and then just being in the offices talking about Bison football at Detroit is pretty cool.
How often for you and your dad when you talk, do you talk football or is it anything but?
No, we definitely talk football, but there's still a lot that we talk about, just hunting and things like that nature. So
I know he got some TV time. I think I was telling you that on Monday Night Football. What was that like to actually get to see that on the sideline?
Yeah, no, it's really cool, especially offensive line. They don't get their flowers that much, and then he's on the screen, which is pretty cool as the coach. And then my phone just blows up with guys like, hey, I saw your dad, so that's pretty cool.
For you to have this kind of year with Cole blocking, what is that like knowing for a guy that it's not a tradition like what you were blocking with Cam last year? Does that keep you on your toes the entire time?
Not on our toes necessarily, but we are blocking, and the next thing you know, the defender just starts running backwards. You don't see a ball throw, and you're confused what's happening. Then you just see Cole run right by you. So
when you see him leap over a guy like he did again, what's that do for the team?
Yeah, I think especially in that game, it just brought the energy up to an absolute max. Seeing it happen, I know I saw it, and I just started smiling mid-play, looking at him hurdle a defender. He didn't even go low. He just straight up jumped over him, so it's really good for the team.
This is such a different spot, Trent, than last year. You guys have already clinched the Valley Championship. Tell me, obviously I know what you want to do for the last two games, but how do you maintain that same drive that you had for the first 10?
Yeah, I mean, I really don't think anything has to change. We just have to go in and just work. That's what we've done this entire season, and I don't think that's going to change.
All right, there's my conversation with Trent Fraley. Again, North Dakota State plays here tomorrow. We had a little mix-up on the time. The anthem was supposed to be a little bit later, but we got to everything good there. Again, the Bison are a heavy favorite tomorrow. It's odd around this entire schedule, this part where NDSU's already wrapped everything up, but they still have 2 games to go in the regular season. This is something that not even their best teams of 2013, 2019 had happen, where they had a chance to clinch it, but likely it was the final game of the regular season. That is not the case here, where the Bison are going to play a Northern Iowa team that is clearly depleted at 3-7 on the season. And we'll have more on this coming up tomorrow on Bison Game Day and obviously throughout the game tomorrow. And then the final is with St. Thomas, the finale, to wrap up the season. Now, St. Thomas is playing for everything tomorrow. The Tommies have a big game They have to win and hope that Drake loses. The Tommies have a chance to win the Pioneer Football League and then obviously be coming to Fargo. Who knows what could happen if they have a chance to get in to the playoffs in their first year of playoff eligibility. But just, it's an odd feeling around the team right now where they have to keep the intensity up. They don't want to take Northern Iowa for granted. The Panthers just got their first win of the season in beating Murray State last week. But it's a different animal here coming in this weekend, especially considering, and we've talked about it plenty throughout the week, of how great some of those games have been between those two teams. And Northern Iowa is just a shell of what it used to be back in 2014, 2015. You can already hear the crowd going crazy behind me. We got some big plays happening. For those that are wondering, now this is a two-screen kind of day. You got your tablet and your television or phone, however you want to work it today, because the first game, here's our schedule, what we got going on. All the games are available on WDAY today. You can also put them on WDAY Plus. The 9-man game has just started to New Rockford, Cheyenne, Maddock, and Lemoore Litchfield Marion. This is a rematch of a game played last year that the Rockets won, scoring over 60 points in a crazy game against LLM. They have been the top two teams in 9-man football all year. We thought this was a collision course that was destined to happen, and here it is now coming to fruition. The game just underway here, and the Rockets are already on the move. We had a couple people tell us that they might have been better than what they were last year, which is kind of crazy to say that out loud, but we'll see. They're already on the move. The second game, which I have the good fortune to call, I'm going to dust me out of mothballs here to call the Class A championship game between Langdon, Area-Munich, and Botno. We'll hear from Cardinals head coach Josh Krivarchka, who's going to join us here on set at about 10 o'clock. His team arriving in about a half hour after they have been denied a trip to this game the last 2 years. Now they're here against a Botno team that's never been here before. They're riding high. They've been the Road Warriors, winning their last two games on the road. So that's coming up, we figure, about noonish for kickoff there. The late afternoon game will be the 2A championship between Devils Lake, the Firebirds, who had the unbelievable win last week over Kindred, winning on a missed extra point, their first trip to the Dakota Bowl in 15 years, against the newcomers. Minot North has never been here, obviously. They've only had football for 2 years of varsity play. The Sentinels will play that game about 2:30, 3 o'clock. And then we're back in prime time tonight for the 3A championship game between Davies and Century to wrap up the night. Century, of course, has been the gold standard of this division, winning 4 championships since 2015, facing a Davies team that was here last year. Talk about redemption, revenge, however you want to phrase it. They're back in this game after losing last year to Cheyenne. That game will start roughly about 6:40, our coverage at 6:30 on WDAY. It is one of our favorite days of the year, and it's a perfect way to cap off the season where we're going to have potentially some new champions, potentially teams repeating. That's the fun part of what we're going to find out here over the next handful of hours. We're going to be with you from here until about 9:30 tonight. Be a long day, and then we got to be right back here tomorrow for the Bison game with Northern Iowa. But we wouldn't have it any other way. We have a packed show coming up for you here. We'll get to our guest lineup. We just got actually an additional guest as well that's going to join us coming up here in our first half hour. Couple other things to hit on. Obviously, we'll show you coming up later on in the show the unbelievable game that went down at U.S. Bank Stadium last night between Minnetonka and Edina. Edina edged out the Skippers 42-41. So the Hornets will play in the 6A championship game 1 week for tonight. Why I'm saying that, why that's relevant? Well, Moorhead and Lakeville South play tonight, and the winner of that game will face Edina for the state championship. Crazy game where Minnetonka got up by 3 touchdowns, and Edina came all the way back and won the game. We'll show you that coming up in just a little bit. Also, a couple other news and notes to get to here before we take our first break and set things up. We had our MVPs announced in baseball. We talked about the Cy Young winners yesterday, which really wasn't a surprise. No surprise in the National League. Shohei Ohtani was crowned the National League MVP unanimously. You know, wake me up with that one. That's a stunner. The other was Aaron Judge won the American League MVP, edging out the big dumper Cal Raleigh of the Seattle Mariners. And this is crazy. It came down to 20 votes. Judge got 17 first-place votes. Raleigh got 13. So Judge total got 355 points, Raleigh 335. Personally, I made it clear I thought Raleigh should have been the MVP considering the kind of season he had. Jose Ramirez of the Guardians was third. Bobby Witt Jr. of the Royals finished in fourth. Raleigh hit 60 home runs this season. Again, I think we forget that considering the regular season ended so long ago. 247, 60 home runs, 125 RBIs. Judge, for a team that also made the postseason, batting average, he had the way advantage there, 331, 53 home runs, and 114 RBIs. Judge was the clear leader for a large part of the season, but after the All-Star break, the Home Run Derby, I thought Raleigh had some real momentum to potentially win that, but it ends up going to Judge's case. So that is that. And baseball did something unique last night. I don't know how many people caught it. They had a big award show. They've never done this before. They had their all MLB team. They're trying to copy other sports that do this, like football, basketball. Instead of just having like the Silver Slugger, the Gold Glove, and the MVP and Cy Young Awards, Rookie of the Year, Manager of the Year. Baseball's trying anything to stay relevant when they're not playing games right now, but that might seem like a fruitless task when football season is going on. All right, we got a great guest lineup for you. It's brought to you by Northwestern Mutual. Our guy, we do it every year with Fletsch. Justin Fletschock will join us, Assistant Director here of the North Dakota Activities Association. He'll join us in just a few minutes to give us the lowdown on how the year has gone, chat about today. And then the big boss, Matt Fetsch, is going to join us actually at 9:35, Executive Director of the High School Activities Association. We're excited to have Matt on to give us an overview. Big week next week. First time we're going to have 3 classes of volleyball. You're going to see it live here on WDAY2 starting next Thursday out in Bismarck. We'll chat about that and a bunch of other topics coming up at 9:35. At 10 o'clock, as I mentioned, Josh Krivarchka will join us here on set. Langdon Area-Munich head coach as the Cardinals get ready for their matchup with Botno. That game is coming up at noon. And then at 10:30, old friend Troy Mattern will join us. He wishes he was coaching today, head coach at Shanley. He's going to be on the call with Sam at 10:35 at 6:30 tonight of the game between Davies and Century. We'll talk with Troy, of course, about the bitter pill, Shanley being left out of the postseason party despite the fact they had a 6-3 record. We'll discuss that coming up at 10:35. So, a packed show on tap here from inside the Dome. We'll take our first break. We're just underway. The 9-man championship underway between New Rockford, Cheyenne, and LLM. Justin Fletschock will join us on the other side of the break. Glad you're joining us. We're back live on WDAY2, WDAY Plus, Inforum.com, also to all our friends in South Dakota. We're back right after this. Welcome back, everybody. Hot Mic live on location here at the Fargo Dome. We are in a media timeout of the 9-man championship. Surprisingly scoreless. I thought we'd have about 3 touchdowns on the board. It's great to see Justin Fletschock from the North Dakota High School Activity Association. This has become tradition that we do the show up here. Fletch always gives us a few minutes. It's great to see you, bud. How you been?
Yeah, good. It's been a really good fall and 60 degrees today, so everyone can get here. You know, a couple of years ago we had teams from 20 miles away staying over the night before to make sure they got here. So, no, it's good fall.
All right, I always test your baseball knowledge. Aaron Judge, MVP over Cal Raleigh. How'd you feel about that?
You know, I was hoping Cal Raleigh
As was I.
But Judge's stats were unbelievable.
Yeah.
I thought there might have been a little Yankee fatigue. He's already won.
Yeah, I know.
I thought maybe they'd go a different direction. Me personally, the demands of a catcher, I don't think we'll ever see an offensive season like that.
60 home runs.
I mean, people talk about Joe Mauer winning MVP because he won a batting title, but he didn't hit 60 home runs. He didn't even hit 30 that year. So, I mean, I kind of hoped Cal Raleigh because I don't see another catcher ever doing that. So
the World Series got the most ratings we've seen in a long time. It was an unbelievable 7-game series. Just your thoughts of watching that. I know the Dodgers won, but the Blue Jays are this close.
Yeah.
They have one out of the 9th inning
and the Mariners
and can't
are
close
that
it.
close.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, both of those got to be very disappointing. But the thing is you know, people don't want to say they like dynasties, but you know all the Dodgers players. And the Dodgers players are very likable.
Yes.
Ohtani, Freddie Freeman, Mookie Betts. Those are people that you enjoy watching. So, or Kershaw.
Kershaw, right?
Into that
Correct.
Game, I can't believe that he pitched in the postseason this year, but good for him. So.
That Game 7, I mean, it's hallowed ground to talk about 91 around here, but that is going to be up there in the pantheon of all-time great games.
The worst part about it for the Blue Jays is you can point to like 5 different winning points for them. I mean, Rojas falling over and throwing the guy out at home.
And he still got him out.
And barely had his cleat on the play, Will Smith. It was awesome, though. It was, as a person that wasn't really didn't have a rooting interest, that's what you want to see, and that's probably why there was that many people watching.
Yeah, it seemed like word of mouth spread, especially the 18-inning game, and then when you got to Game 6 and how that ended on a double play that the Dodgers had to have, and then obviously what happened in Game 7 was remarkable. All right, from your position, tell us, watching this football season play out, what'd you evaluate of how the year went?
That went really well. We have some really good teams here today.
Yeah.
There was a lot of close semifinals last week. I think the playoffs overall have been really good. We talked, last year at this time, probably, we had Horace move up to AAA, Kindred, Central Cross up to AA. They all hosted playoff games, so I think things worked out pretty well there. I think everything kind of came together pretty well. I thought the football committee and our board did a really good job.
Now the big question will be Minot North. They're here.
Yep.
If they move on, they move up in the not-too-distant future. That Kindred game with Devil's Lake is going to be an all-timer, and it's going to be hard to get over in Kindred. But how about Devil's Lake hasn't been here in 15 years?
Yeah. There's a lot of familiar names from the last couple of years, but Mason Palmer, we were talking earlier today about, the talent that kid has. I don't think he gets enough attention.
No.
I mean, he's an all-state football quarterback. Heck of a point guard.
He's actually a better baseball player, right?
I watched him throw a perfect game in the state tournament last year, so, he's pretty good.
This first game here, and we talked about it off the top, it's hard to do this when everybody expects you to.
Yep.
That's why I got to give credit to both these teams for getting here.
Well, great coaches and great athletes, and, I think from the end of last year, the last buzzer of the 9-man game last year, everyone expected these two teams back, but it is fantastic. It's fantastic football. This is one of I think everyone circled the 9 a.m. game as I'm excited to watch this 9-man game this year.
Well, normally the 9-man gets some casual viewers, but I think even more knowing the fact, Gunnar Thiel just is committed. He's going to play football for the Bison next year.
Yep.
Obviously, with Elliott's team, they know full well of what they have in store, that this might get more casual eyeballs. We're hoping so today.
Correct. I hope they're not watching us. I hope they're watching the game. No, it's awesome. I mean, and then just all day long with Botno first time.
Yeah.
Devil's Lake, like you said, long time. Minot North, first time. It's again, I say it every year. It's my favorite day of the year on our calendar because we have 4 championships. It's super intense, but we're in the Fargo Dome. It's just a great environment. It's loud no matter how many people are here. So it's awesome.
Hey, in the era, we could have 2 screens, man. You could have your tablet on us and the other on WDAY, right?
Yeah.
That's the plan.
I mean, everyone has 3 screens at work anyway.
You got it.
One here, one on the game.
You mentioned Botno. How big look the road they went, going all the way to Ellendale, then go all the way to Killdeer, and now here to Fargo today.
That Ellendale game, they were down a couple touchdowns.
Unbelievable.
Came back and won. It was really, it's really exciting to see that because, Botno had been close a couple years. I think they made a semifinal.
21. Yep.
And it's good to see that because we always want, obviously we have traditional powers that year in and year out are good, but it's good to see a program come from kind of the bottom up and see success.
Well, I think we were doing this last year about Class A, knowing, okay, there's going to be a vacuum with Central Cass and Kindred, and Langdon always has been good. Velva's been there, but here's Botno with an opportunity to step in when those teams have left.
And even Killdeer, this is the 3rd straight year they've been into the semis or quarter. I mean, it's really been a dominant run for Langdon. Velva, I bet that's 4 or 5 semifinals in a row for both of those schools. But it's good to see someone break through. And Zach, their coach, great guy. He's their AD, so we work with him a decent amount.
That is a lot on his plate this week.
It's good to see.
The last game tonight, again, Bismarck, you're talking about powers. Bismarck Century has owned this division since 2015. And here's Davies, much like LLM, back in this game after losing last year.
Correct. And, I think Davies was probably disappointed last year. I think last year, coming into the game, I think they were the favorite. But for them to buckle down and get back here this year, for Wayne and his team, it's just good to see.
I want to ask you, obviously we had plenty of chatter on the eastern side of the state and how things bore out, that Shanley didn't make it at 6-3. The guys went back to the football committee, decided to go back. The coaches brought this up of going 4 from the east, 4 from the west. I know they got changed a couple years ago. Is that something you imagine revisiting again this offseason?
I don't think so. It really came from our coaches. The coaches didn't want to rely on a computer to rank teams for making the playoffs. They felt like they wanted it face-to-face on the field in their region. And, you know, it's funny because in the computer rankings, I think Shanley was third and didn't make the playoffs. But that is the what the coaches wanted, and our board listened to them. And I don't foresee a change. And, again, this is a 2-year plan, so things can change in the next 15 months. But I don't foresee them because I think that's what they feel comfortable with is, all right, you know, there's 12 of us, there's 6 in a region, 4 of us are going, let's figure out who those 4 are.
What was the feedback initially, though, on the top 8 of doing, because you did that for a 2-year stretch?
It wasn't great.
Okay.
I mean, it wasn't great around teams 7, 8, 9, 10 because I think a lot of people wanted to know when they went into the last week, what's it going to look like if this, if that?
Yeah,
well, we can't tell you because it's a computer that's coming out with these rankings. So it makes it difficult, and people want to know ahead of time, and I don't blame them. It's a lot, you know, easier to physically see the game and know that if that happened, that happened, and that's the way it is.
It's North Dakota football. We got to ask routinely about playoff structure and classes and all that. I will ask, on Minot North, is that something that, with their success last year, this year, are they bound for 3A sooner than later?
Well, I mean, not in this 2-year plan they won't be, but after this, I think Minot has told us they want both their teams in the same
division
in AAA because they're not playing right now, which is kind of unfortunate. But with the schedule the way it is, they just aren't able to play. And I know you have 2 public schools in your city. You want to see them play. So.
Well, we saw that this year with West Fargo Horace playing Cheyenne and West Fargo. Yep. Those games were unbelievable for the first time.
One thing about scheduling I want to say, you know, we look at a lot of games because of our restrictions. One of the things that we saw this year were some really good inter-division games.
Yep.
Kindred playing Horace.
That was awesome.
That was a huge step forward. And it didn't hurt Horace at all. And it didn't hurt Kindred at all. And I wish we would see a little bit more of that where some of our inter-division matchups that could happen do happen. We've seen it a little bit more in basketball, especially girls basketball. Yeah. We saw a lot of inter-division scheduling. But I just think that's something we should see more because good on good is good. I don't care what division you're in. So.
Before we get wrapped up here, obviously we're going to talk with Matt about this the next segment. Huge week next week with the debut of 3 classes of volleyball. What's the anticipation like next week for Bismarck?
Well, I'm gladly not in charge of volleyball, but I think it's going to be huge. I think the crowds are going to be. I mean, I think back a few years ago when we had, I think it was a Northern Cass, Linton, Century, Cheyenne, back-to-back championships. That place was packed.
Was that in Bismarck?
Yeah, it was in Bismarck. Yeah. They didn't get done till midnight that night.
That's right.
It was 2 5-setters. But I will say, like, now we added another division. And I think it's going to be really an attractive event. I think Kevin in our office who runs it has it set up really well, and I'm anticipating it's going to be a big success.
Coverage will be on WDAY2 starting on Thursday. How much did you guys take notes from basketball's rollout to use for volleyball?
Well, it's so different with 3 weekends in basketball as opposed to 1 weekend. We have, you know, there's just it's a lot. We're on 2 sites each weekend. Well, not AA for basketball, but it's just a little different. One thing that's the same is there's going to be a lot of people in town. A lot of hotels being used and a lot of teams. So it'll be interesting to see how the ancillary stuff around the tournament works because that's what we've seen is the biggest changes. You know, there's just a lot more outside of the actual games.
One last thing before we go, and this is for later we can talk about because we're getting close to basketball. The Class A girls are going to be in Jamestown for the first time. What's the anticipation of that, knowing you got some big teams, they're going to be coming to Jamestown?
Well, the Civic can hold them. I know that. I mean, it holds about 6,000, so we're excited for that. I think it's a good thing because we just have teams from around the state, and it'd be nice to get closer to their fan bases every few years. Same with the B going back up to Minot. You know, last year I think we had Kenmare and Berthold in the semis, and the girls. That's a long way coming from there. So this year we're in Minot, so I think it's good for us to give that opportunity to move it around the state. Jamestown's done a tremendous job with those 2 tournaments that we've had there, and I've been really happy with how it's gone.
We haven't talked since we rolled out all the spring tournaments, which was fantastic. I'm not sure still how we did it. I called the Class B softball, which was tremendous. The crowds were great at NDSU. It just keeps getting, and that Central Cass team was loaded, as you know. It just keeps getting better and better there on that softball level.
Well, and it sounds like we're going to add 2 or 3 teams again this year. It really... Girls wrestling and softball have rocketed as far as participation, which is great to see. Because when I was in high school, essentially in the winter, girls didn't have I mean, volleyball was in the winter, but if your school didn't have volleyball, because not everyone did, you really didn't have an option to participate.
I know you got to get to work. Thanks so much for doing this, bud. It's great to see you. Be well and have a great holiday, okay?
I appreciate all you do for high school sports, Tom.
Thanks, bud. Justin Fletschock joining us from the NDHSAA. We'll take a break. The big boss is going to join us. Matt Fetsch will join us here on site, updating the game here. Again, you won a lot of bets. 0-0 in the second quarter of the 9-man game. We're back on Hot Mic right after this. Welcome back, everybody. Live on location at the Fargo Dome on this Football Friday. Dakota Bowl going on. The 9-man championship stunningly is scoreless with 8 minutes to go in the first half. You had any bets on that one? First off, what are you doing betting high school football? But second, you would have lost a lot of money on that. As we welcome in the big boss, the executive director of the High School Activity Association, Matt Fetsch, joins us. Great to see you, bud. How you been?
Been doing really well.
Yeah.
It's kind of like anything in North Dakota, the weather drives anything, including people's attitudes, and it's been about as nice fall as we've ever had.
Well, we could be playing outdoors today,
yeah,
man.
And that just carries over to everything else, so I really have nothing to complain about.
No, considering I think last Friday and Halloween it was about 20 degrees out, so it seems fitting that we have a 60-degree day on the last day of the season.
Well, never fails.
So tell me about today. What for you? Is it an official day, or are you able to take in some of this?
A lot of taken in.
Yep.
I mean, it's obviously one of the biggest days of the year within our association. We really don't have anything else where you're bringing in just the final two teams and having championship after championship. And it's, something I told a few people. I woke up at 4:30 this morning and never did make it back to sleep, so must mean I'm excited and looking forward to it.
So I know it's cliche to say, but is it literally preparation for this start after last year's games wrap up?
Yeah, to some degree, but it's such a well-oiled machine here with Todd Olson and his crew. It's just almost plug and play where it doesn't matter who's coming, they're ready, and it kind of starts Monday where we meet with all the qualifying coaches, ADs, and Todd and Jenny are on there, and really most of the questions get answered, and it just lets everyone be more successful as the week goes on. What
is maybe the biggest headache for teams that maybe, like a Botno hasn't been here, Devil's Lake hasn't been here in 15 years, that to account for when they make it to the Dakota Bowl?
Yeah, probably just the unknown.
Yeah.
I mean, it is rare of all our sports or activities to have new teams that have never been there, and you got multiple this year. We had some last year as well, and it really is a sign of, I think it's a positive.
I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah, but it's, like I said, it's all the info is there, so I don't think anyone feels unprepared, but probably just more the unknown that is the nervous piece.
Well, I was visiting with Zach Keller about this, who's the Botno head football coach. He's also the ADs. That's double duty. That's a lot on his plate for this week.
It is, yeah, and it's called the price of success, where further you go into a postseason, the more there is and more on your plate, but I don't think Zach or anyone else would trade it for anything.
We were talking with Fletch about how this season played out. Tell me, in your role, how do you see that and how the season went in terms of competitive balance, in terms of how the divisions played out?
Yeah, we're just talking about it earlier this week and haven't had time to put it together, but I think if you look through just data, again, we don't have it tabulated yet, but you could argue it was as competitive season as we've had, just comparing scores. I think we're since 1997 where we've had 4 divisions, and I know that I can remember one personally that's had more parity, and that really continued through last weekend, and you just rarely see so many semifinals that come down to the wire, and I think it's going to be no different throughout today.
Well, hopefully we got a lot of games that go right down to the wire here today. I was just ended our conversation with Fletch about next week, and that's what I want to start with you. But 3-class volleyballs now here after almost a 2-year rollout. It got approved. Now it's here. Describe the anticipation from the association of what's to come next week.
Yeah, it's going to be a huge event.
Yeah.
I mean, it was with the 2 divisions, it was big, and the unique part of volleyball is it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger every year. Where I think the past 4 years we've had record attendance broken every year, and I mean it's going to shatter this year just with 8 more teams. And I know Dave Zittelman and his staff over there they've been working at this for a while. Tom Mix, we were all in a group chat last night as they're already reaching out to teams that qualified last night. But it's exciting, and again, I don't have the data in front of me, but any administrator would tell you we've probably had more 5-setters this year than we've ever had, and it's just been crazy where you never know on a given night.
So for people that are watching next week, we're going to have all the games on. How is it working? Are there matches overlapping? And how, with only a couple of courts, how does it work with 3 classes?
Yeah, there'll still be the 2 courts. The biggest difference from previous years is instead of a 1 p.m. start, it'll start at 9 a.m. So similar today, there'll be 6 matches on each court.
Okay.
Kevin Morris in our office done a real good job. He's kind of taken the bull by the horns since this got approved, and he's got a system where, if you're a B fan, an A fan, double A fan, there shouldn't be a time where your match is overlapping.
Okay.
So he has a schedule figured out for that, and it's just going to be the unique piece too. Compared to a lot of other states, we'll have standalone championships. So starting at 3 o'clock Saturday, you can come and watch 3 straight state championship matches, and really looking forward to the. And even the teams that qualified last night, we've had a few that haven't been there in a while. And the attendance, the few matches we was watching last night, we had unreal crowds throughout the regional. So I think it's just a sign of the week to come here.
Well, I'll say on our end of it, we were blown away with the viewership numbers for it, the interest in it. That surprised me when we did it for the first time last year.
Yeah, like I said, the attendance is the indicator, and it's just been exploding.
Yeah.
I think earlier you were talking to Justin about girls wrestling, girls softball, and they're just some of the, without a doubt, the fastest growing activities. I know participation numbers wise, nothing compares to volleyball on the girls' side. It's just been an explosion for 20 years now, and no signs of slowing.
What's the biggest headache right now at the association? What's number, if you're at a to-do list, or what's keeping you up? What's number 1 on that list right now?
I don't think you can pinpoint one because things change so fast that my phone might ring here during this interview and I'll have an answer for you. But I think, since COVID in particular, what we learned about our association, our staff, our member schools is it's evident they can adapt on the fly.
A lot of resilience there, no?
And that was just something up until then that change took so long, and now it's so rapid that I don't know that any one thing keeps me up at night, because if it does, we know it's something we most oftentimes are able to fix it if it's something that's broke, and that's really just the day-to-day operation with everything.
I'm going to flex a little bit for us, knowing I know you've told me you get asked about this when you go and visit at conventions, that your state championships like today are on network television. Can you tell me and tell the viewers about that, about how other states are pretty much incredulous that that's the case here?
Yeah, they don't believe it. I mean, like I said, I remember my favorite story was the one year we were at, I don't know what meeting I was at, and I can't remember the actor now. It's slipping my. I want to say Rob Lowe, or someone was shooting a movie in Winnipeg.
Okay.
And they wanted to watch the Lakers. It might have been the night LeBron broke the scoring record. And I think the Division B Girls Basketball Championship was on, and they were tweeting about it. Thanks, WDAY. I wanted to watch the Lakers and so on. But, no, it's incredible. It's something that is just something that's been in our state so long, and we're so fortunate to have that I had a conversation yesterday with someone in Atlanta, and we were talking about that, and they just
no kidding,
it just blew their mind.
Yeah.
That, if they can get on TV in a lot of states at any level,
they're happy about that,
shocked,
right?
And then to do it at the network level, it's just unlike anything else. So we're very fortunate, and I think we talk about attendance numbers growing and sports exploding, and that all plays into it, and I think being on statewide TV definitely is a big part of that.
What's on the horizon? Anything you're looking for? Like, hey, this is something we want to tackle as an association level?
Yeah, I think most of what we're tackling this year is stuff that the average sports fan wouldn't even think or maybe necessarily care about. Working with whether it's some eligibility pieces or things. Mainly the focus is our member school administrator. How do we make their lives easier with some of the things we're doing? And that's what my board of directors has been spending a lot of their time on. Sports-wise, I think the biggest changes that I foresee in the coming years, the board has created a policy and will start having conversations about, like we call them presenting partnerships, where esports is the big one. It's another one that's exploding statewide. I just talked to the CEO at Fenworks yesterday, and the largest program in the state of North Dakota right now is in Dunseith for esports. Just exploded there and is huge. And we're piloting this year with Fenworks, where they're kind of the recognized partner, and it wouldn't shock me at all in the near future if we have won't be like a full season like you see for sports, but where for maybe a weekend we have an NDHSAA esports championship type thing. And other sports and activities have talked about it. You know, your cheer and some of those competitions that have become very large, clay target, things like that. The board was very forward-thinking in developing a mechanism where we don't want to totally take something over and fully sponsor it because it'll stunt the growth. But if we can let them do what they're doing and have that culminating event at the end of the year, maybe we can make this work. So I think you'll probably hear more and more about that in the coming years. But to the average fan who follows, I think that'll be the biggest difference.
Minnesota just got boys volleyball. Is that anything you're thinking at here at this level or no?
We've had very little talk on that. How it works for adding a sport in particular, once 12 schools are sponsoring it, then it can reach a threshold where the board would maybe consider it. But most recent case of that would be girls wrestling, where once there were 12 schools that had their own girls wrestling
that's
team.
Exploded.
Blown up. Softball was another one.
Yep.
When girls fast-pitch softball started, we just had one division, and it wasn't long. We had 12 teams that had a team.
I remember that first one.
And it split, and it just continued to grow. So I think it all plays in the scheduling, where I know it's a lot. We were just talking about it before we came on here, where you got volleyball championships last night. You got 4 championships today. Swim and dives in town this weekend or in West Fargo. And then you got our state qualifiers for the first time in volleyball tomorrow. That I think it just, particularly in these communities that have a lot of success, both on the boys and girls side, it just raises that excitement, and people are interested and have access to it and can follow.
We had a lot of people that watch the show in Jamestown. I was just ending my conversation with Fletsch about that the girls A is going to be in Jamestown for the first time. But obviously, Matt, those are bigger schools there, like a Kindred, a Devil's Lake. I'm just thinking of the teams that have been successful. Is Jamestown ready for that? Can they host with that kind of size of communities that could be there?
Yeah, I think venue-wise they can host about anything we put on. They're more than ready. They've continued to improve their facility there since 3 divisions were probably the day it was approved. They were ready to first ones getting ready to say, hey, we're going to be ready for this. And I think it varies. You get, as we get further into 3 divisions, basketball, volleyball, whatever it is, you're mathematically you're going to see more teams go year after year after year. So that'll be the interesting piece.
Yeah.
Does it affect how many people go and watch? And then again, I mentioned the price of success for several different things. But fans, by the time kids get to high school, they've been chasing them around every weekend since they were in kindergarten, and they're maybe okay driving
You're speaking
home
from experience here, right?
home at night and coming back the next day. So it'll be interesting with those A schools and the hotel demand. Is that different than the B or not?
Yeah.
So we'll learn a lot this year. But no, they're as ready as they can be, and that's all we ask.
A hot topic I always get, you and I talked about this building hosting basketball. You've done it for 2 years. What's the feedback been?
I would say overwhelmingly positive, in all honesty. We talked about it where so many people associated basketball in the Fargo Dome with the 1990s. That was the last time they were here, and they were so far from the court and so on. And then when they get in here, they're like, "Wow, this is a basketball
it's intimate,
venue,
man."
And it's loud, the acoustics. It's you talk to any kid that's played here the last couple of years, it'd be hard to find one that didn't have a good experience. I even look back to last year. AA has been coming here for a long time. And the semifinal night last year was the highest single-day attendance we had last year.
No kidding.
Of any. And the year before, it was the A championship, Devil's Lake Kindred. So you've got, this venue's had the 2 biggest crowds we've seen the last couple of years.
And the A championship is coming back here this March. It'll be back here at the end of it. All right, last thing before I let you go, and we're talking plenty about what is ahead. I look at it as well. You did hockey over a 4-day stretch. I know last year we've talked about basketball. Is that in the hopper? Is that something? I know you got to work with us on that. Is there an appetite to do that for AA basketball and hockey?
Yeah, there hasn't been much discussion at the basketball level. And again, we're such a venue-rich state. You come to Fargo, you're at the Shack, you're in the Dome. You go to Bismarck, the exhibit hall there is as good atmosphere as anyone will ever play basketball in. So there hasn't been much conversation at all. Hockey, it was more facility related last year, and we're pretty clear on the front side it was an experiment, and there were positives, there were negatives. We had one AD was pretty open about their hotel bill coming there for 4 nights and 5 nights,
and that is a deal.
And they said it was we had no idea. I mean, it was significant. Fortunate in Fargo this year where the facilities, again, we're venue rich here. The plan at this time, the format this year will be a 3-day hockey tournament again. The tentative plan would be to have the 4-day tournament in Grand Forks again next year for hockey. But again, everything's on the table. The group that makes those decisions meets a couple times a year. They don't meet till December, so that'll really be the first time they have a chance to talk moving forward.
I know you're a busy man. Thanks so much for doing this, bud. It's great to see you. Yeah. Enjoy today, okay? We'll talk soon.
Appreciate it. Good luck today with the fall.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Matt Fetsch joining us, the Executive Director of the High School Activity Association here on set. We'll come back. We'll wrap up our first hour. Josh Krivarchka to join us, head coach of Langdon, coming up in hour 2. We're back live to the Dome right after this. Welcome back, everybody. Wrapping up our first hour of Hot Mic here live at the Fargo Dome. Big second hour coming. Troy Mattern will join us about a half hour to chat about his football team and get us a look ahead to the big school championship game. Just to update things here in the 9-man championship, New Rockford Cheyenne Maddock with a 14-0 lead on Lemoore Litchfield Marion. We got, would have been a minute 47 to go in the first half. You can watch everything live on WDAY and on WDAY Plus. We're exclusive here on WDAY 2 here today, and what's a great day of football. We appreciate both Fletch and Matt Fetsch giving us a few minutes here in our first hour. Just a couple other things going on around the area. We mentioned the Spuds game coming up tonight. Biggie there, 7:30 at U.S. Bank Stadium against Lakeville South. Winner of that will get a Dyna for the 6A state championship. Tomorrow we got a bunch of our teams in action. Mahnomen-Waubun is playing. Breckenridge is playing back-to-back at U.S. Bank Stadium. DGF is playing tomorrow. So that's happening at U.S. Bank Stadium. Shout out to Hillcrest Lutheran, the Comets. They beat Kittson County Central yesterday, so they'll play for the Minnesota 9-man championship. That comes up next week. Congrats to them. They're going to get Hills Beaver Creek. They knocked off Ferto Beltrami in the Minnesota 9-man semis going on. 5 more games today at U.S. Bank Stadium. That's going to be great. We'll have that going on when we got this going on here at the Dome. It is a great time for football. Coming up in our second hour here as well, we'll give you the lowdown on what's going on in the Missouri Valley Football Conference tomorrow. We got some big games. This one here notwithstanding, the game in Brookings, huge. Game in Carbondale, huge, to determine what's going to happen for the postseason. That a lot could happen tomorrow, determining who wins that game and who has a clear path to the postseason. We'll update that coming up later on in our second hour. We'll break here. We come back. Langdon Area-Munich head coach Josh Krivarchka will join us as the Cardinals get ready for their game with Botno in just a couple hours. That's coming up. Hour 2 of Hot Mic. Back after this.
This is Hot Mic. Hot Mic. On the networks of WDAY. Here's Dom Izzo.
Welcome back, everybody. Hour 2 live on location here on this Football Friday, the final Friday of football in North Dakota for 2025. Kind of sad when you say that. We're back live up here at the Dome as we get near halftime of the 9-man championship. It is all New Rockford Cheyenne right now, 22-0 on Lemoore Litchfield Marion, although the Lobos are driving. My next guest, he's got to get to work here pretty soon. His team is playing in the Class A championship. Langdon Area-Munich taking on Botno. Great to see Cardinals head coach Josh Krivarchka joining us here on set. First off, how many different ways have you heard your last name pronounced? I've never asked you that.
Yeah, now that you say that, I think they even goof it up in Langdon sometimes. It can be Krivarchka. I mean, there's a lot of different ways, but it's always something fun to listen to in pregame warm-ups. That's for sure.
Or hear it over the PA, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I know you never take anything for granted, but it's been 5 years. How grateful you'll be back inside this building.
I mean, it's we were actually talking about that last night. 5 years seems like an eternity, especially when you're so close. A few years, and you just keep knocking at that door, and then to get back, it's always special to play on this day. I think to me it's the greatest sporting event in North Dakota for one day. It's just really cool.
So let's go back to last week's game. Maybe some on the outside thought that might be the championship game. It's the Velva's the reigning champs. You guys are going. Describe how your team performed last Saturday.
I thought we played at a really high level. We knew going into the game Velva was they were a different team. We were a different team, but they were really physical up front, and we really challenged our kids to meet their physicality, and we did that. And we played 4 quarters of football. It doesn't surprise me. You're in Langdon, North Dakota, and it's not snowing, and then all of a sudden, an hour before kickoff, it was like a winter wonderland for 3 hours, and then the game ended and it stopped. So, I mean, it was kind of perfect Langdon Cardinal-type football right there.
You had mentioned it the last 2 years you had lost in that game. Describe just getting over the hump, what that was like in the locker room afterwards.
I mean, it's just relief as a coach, but you just really are proud of the kids. I mean, because you look back 5 years, these kids have never been to a Dakota Bowl. So just for them to have that opportunity is pretty special. And last year we knew we were up against it when we were playing Velva. But the year before it was kind of heartbreak when we lost to Kindred by 2 points. So it was just a lot of jubilation, a lot of relief. But then it's back to the drawing board this week, Dom.
We'll talk about the Botno matchup here in a second. I think we talked when you were last on my show earlier in the year about Class A and how different it was going to be with Kindred and Central Cass gone. Did it feel like not necessarily it opened it up, but hey, there's an opportunity for somebody to win a championship this year with those guys gone?
I mean, I think that it really developed confidence in everybody. I mean, that's why, you get into the quarterfinals, I thought, and I mean, even in the first round, we had a good matchup with Northern Cass. So, I mean, I think everybody felt like they had more of a shot, a puncher's shot going into it. And then, I mean, I think, it shows with us making it, Botno making it. I mean, it's just, Botno's a different team. They've never been there before. And so it's, I think, obviously Kindred and Castleton, they fit it quite well into that AA division.
They seem like they did okay this year. For people that have not been to your town or see what Football Friday, describe, because you guys are good in a lot of sports. I talked with Rob Scher about this forever. What is it about football and Langdon that seems to go hand in hand?
I mean, I just think that, the kids have really bought into the culture of just wanting to be tough, and, it's kind of, I almost put it like a blue-collar type town now. I mean, they kind of bring their lunch pails and they want to get to work, and, they want to get after it, and, they're just a bunch of tough kids that love competing.
You still have any Rumfos left? I believe you do. Your tight end is one, correct?
Yeah, this is the last one.
This is it?
Yeah, I mean, until they start having kids and coming back, but I'll be long gone by then. So, but yeah, this is the last one as of right now.
Tell me about Theo. What he brings to your team?
I mean, just a really dynamic, pass rusher on the outside, and then our run game. We've ran for 2,900 yards this year, and obviously we have 5 guys up front, but he's a glorified lineman at tight end for us, and we ask him to get in the mix a lot, and just really makes us go there.
I have messages in my Twitter inbox every Monday. We do our best of the weekend. Hey, don't forget Langdon's quarterback. Hey, talk about Jax Johnson. All right, the floor is yours about your quarterback this year.
The biggest thing with Jax is he's like a fullback playing quarterback, and the state's going to get to see that today. He's all of 6'1", and he's about 205, and he's not going to shy away from contact. He's going to deliver the blow every play, and I think after a while teams just get sick of it. I mean, it's just 20 times right at you, smash mouth football, and he's a special kid, and he's got some toughness.
So last week, correct me if I'm wrong, he had 3 rushing touchdowns, a passing touchdown, and a kick return touchdown.
Yeah,
it's all right.
Yeah, he's a jack of all trades for us, and I think he carried the ball about 32 times too. So we weren't going to throw it in the second half in that snow if we didn't have to.
You've had some unbelievable quarterbacks. I mentioned the Rumfos, obviously, but just what does that do for confidence-wise when you got a guy that you trust completely under center?
I mean, that's what we try to design our offense around always is our quarterback, and I just believe to have that extra blocker when you got the quarterback run game, it makes it a big deal for us, and like you said, confidence-wise, I think everybody believes in him, and then can just settle everybody down and get everybody to play at a high level.
Right behind us, your boys are here watching. Describe what this is. What did you tell them, or if anything, of coming to the Dome this morning?
Well, we told them to come in and take it all in. You can watch till halftime, and then it's time to lock in and prepare like it's a regular football game. And so, that's the hoopla. They want to see it all, but it's we want to win at noon. So that's
even though it's not a regular football game. Don't give me the coach speak. Come on now.
Well, it's not a regular football game. I know that. These kids know that, and it's all the lights will be shining on us.
Your experience in this, can that help? I know it was 5 years ago, but you've been in this game so many times. Can that help for these guys today?
Well, I think the biggest thing is you just being here. You learn and take little things away from the preparation of everything, like when you got to go down and when you got to start relaxing, you get ready. You don't need to come out in the tunnel right away and get warmed up. Just things that we look back on and we were like, oh man, we weren't very smart there. And you got more time than you think, and you just got to keep the kids calm and just focus to get ready to play.
Those games with Hillsborough, what comes to mind when I ask you about those matchups you had with them?
Well, I mean, the first year was kind of heartbreak hotel, and
no doubt.
The second year, we came in and I thought we were a little overmatched up front, and just our kids, will and determination to win a football game, was unbelievable. And I wish we'd have got to play them the third year because they were dang good and we were dang good. So that would have been quite the epic final right there.
That streak, I don't know in recent memory if it's going to get touched. You won 44 games in a row. I know it's 5 years removed, but if you thought back, I'm like, man, that was unbelievable to be a part of that.
Well, I think the most unbelievable part to me was that, we stayed healthy for
that's
44,
right.
I mean, because we really didn't have a lot of room for error for injuries or anything like that. And, the game of football is a brutal game at times. And, to be able to do that and stay healthy and find ways to win is pretty special.
What was that like going in knowing everybody was going to want to beat you? How did you guys handle that?
I mean, actually, the fourth year when Hillsborough finally beat us in the regular season, you almost kind of felt bad for that team in a way because they played some of them the year before, but they weren't a part of. We didn't have the Rumfos anymore, and it's like they felt all this pressure, and it was like, just go out and play football. I mean, it's for the news reporters to talk about the 45 or 44 games in a row.
All right, let's talk about this matchup with Bottineau. Just preparing for the game. They've got 3 6'3" receivers. You just don't see that in your level of football, right?
Yeah, and then they got the quarterback's
pretty good,
6'3" too, that moves well. And so, obviously, we tell the kids, and anytime you get to this point, like, they got to be good. They got players that make plays on the outside. They're physical up front, and they're a big challenge for us.
I always ask this, so don't roll your eyes at me. Is a quick start necessary today in a game like this?
I knew you were going to ask me this, so I thought.
Am I that predictable?
We played in 4 Dakota Bowls,
yep.
And the first one I thought we had a quick start, and we ended up losing. And the second one we didn't have a quick start, and we won. And then the third one we just played well, and then the fourth one we didn't. And we won. So, I mean, you just don't know. I mean, you got to play 4 quarters, and obviously a quick start is wonderful, but you just don't know.
Look at this. You got your own sign over here. You got a fan club. How about that?
Yeah, that's my wife right there, so she better hold up that sign high.
I want to talk about that, the support. I mean, anywhere you guys go, it is unbelievable. I anticipate that's going to be the case again here today.
Yeah, I mean, I think, it sounds like there's going to be a huge following. It's always great to see, just the communities of Langdon and Munich and just all the surrounding areas.
Yeah.
They really back these kids, and they should. I mean, this is a heck of an accomplishment, and, they should come out and support these kids.
How did you? I mean, this goes back to a past question, but you guys were tab number 1 all year. How did you handle that, especially with some guys maybe that weren't in this spot before?
I mean, it's a long football season, and we it's kind of typical coach speak. You got to just take it day by day, week by week. But that's what we truly do. I mean, you can't look ahead. You don't never know with injuries and all that. So you just got to keep getting better each week. And we don't really look at the rankings. That's kind of for the media and all that.
That's what we do over here.
Yeah.
This matchup, you mentioned it. What's going to go through your mind right before kickoff?
I think, this is special to me, Dom, in a way that a couple years ago I lost my dad, and, he was one of our biggest followers, and, just to think about him, I think about him before every game, that's just something that, I always think about. And I miss those phone calls after the game because until once they're gone, you never get them back. And just a special person to me.
Tell me about those. Was it second guessing, or what was going on?
Yeah, there was a lot of second guessing and a lot of telling me that we got to find a kicker, which I don't know how you just find a kicker all of a sudden in North Dakota Class B football.
Have you had one?
Well, our kicker this year, I'm not saying he's great. It's a quarterback, but he might be our best one that we've had in the 14 years I've been here, and that's not saying a lot.
Oh, that's a great story. I appreciate you sharing that. Just this atmosphere here, you mentioned it about for the guys playing here. I've always, it's hot. There's, do you address the guys with that as well about the how to breathe in here, I guess?
Yeah, we do talk about that. We talked about it yesterday. It's just kind of a dry air, and we talk about hydration, making sure that you're getting fueled up the best you can because all of a sudden you're going to have dry mouth out there, and there's no real way around it, but you address it and do the best you can.
You look at it, this matchup here, and knowing full well what they bring to the table, what's it going to take for you guys to stop them? I mean, they can score points. They did it. I mean, the fact that the Road Warriors, they went all the way to Ellendale and won. You know how that trip is. And they went to Killdeer and won last week.
Well, the biggest thing that you see on film is they've been really they've made a lot of conversions on third and fourth downs, just making plays. And so the biggest thing is for us getting off the field, and like in any big game, and it's really true in these, is you got to take care of the football. If you take care of the football, do your job, and then get some stops on defense, you only get so many possessions. So you take care of the football, do your job, and make plays when plays are there to be made. All
right, I'm not trying to retire you, but are you still having fun? You still love doing this?
I do love doing it. Gets the juices flowing, and it's a long year at times, but this is why you do it, I believe. I mean, I obviously you do it for the kids and all that kind of stuff, but this is the ultimate reason to me why you do it is to coach in these type of football games.
And talk to me right before the game, right? That's up there too, I'm assuming?
Yeah, that's top of the list right there.
Lastly, before I let you go, what do you tell the guys right before you come out of the locker room?
Well, the biggest thing is I always tell them to take it all in and have fun. I mean, that's why they play the game of football, is to have fun and just enjoy the moment, take it all in warm-ups, get the nerves out, and everybody's going to be watching, which this is great. I mean, that's what we want, and have fun out there and just compete your butt off.
It's great to see you, bud. I really appreciate you doing this right before kickoff. Good luck today, okay?
All right, really appreciate it, Dom. Thank you.
Josh Krivarchka joining us here on set. Langdon, Area-Munich, and Botno coming up, I hope, at noon. I got a show still to do for another 45 minutes. You'll see it live on WDAY. We'll break. We'll get caught up here with a couple things. Troy Mattern coming up in, about 20 minutes. We're back live to the Dome after this.
Thanks, man. Yep, perfect.
Welcome back, everybody. Live here on location at the Fargo Dome for the Dakota Bowl 33. We're at halftime of the 9-man championship game. Currently reads a 22-0 New Rockford Cheyenne Maddock lead over Lemoore Litchfield Marion. We're going to get caught up in a couple emails here throughout the day and throughout our show. We have time to get to so far. Going back to our conversation we're having earlier in the show about 3-class volleyball. Yep, it starts this year. We're going to have that for you next week. We'll give you the full schedule on that coming up next week's shows because we're moving around again next week with matches on Extra and on WDAY2 next Thursday and Friday with that's going down there. Let's get a couple more in here. And we read that one yesterday about combining the Missouri Valley and the Summit League. Just not a thing they're going to go and do. I'm not sure, frankly, what the league's going to do. They need to find something what's going on there. We'll table that conversation for another time. All right. Now, we've got football here, obviously, tomorrow. The Bison are taking on Northern Iowa. Northern Iowa's out of the playoffs. But we have 6 teams in the Missouri Valley probably fighting for 5 playoff spots. We got a graphic here to show what everybody has left in the regular season. Starting, we have games tomorrow. Remember, the Bison, this is their final conference game tomorrow, but everybody else has 2 conference games to go. So this is exactly what as everybody has left here over the last 2 weeks of the season. Now, the Big East starts here. We'll start with South Dakota. And actually, because the Coyotes have played 11 straight weeks, their finale is tomorrow at Southern Illinois. They're 6-4. SIU wins. USD is going to sweat that out as they potentially likely going to miss the playoffs. They should be actually 7-4 on that graphic, not 6-4. 7-5 with wins over SDSU and UND should be enough for the Coyotes. We'll find out. Illinois State at 7-3. Now the Redbirds have a road game tomorrow in Brookings. That is a monster football game. And then they end the season hosting Southern Illinois. If they sweep, Illinois State is on the precipice of maybe being a top 8 seed. Split, they're a top 16 seed and playing Thanksgiving weekend at 8-4. Lose both, then there might be in trouble at 7-5. Their best win, though, is over South Dakota. They got that going for them. South Dakota State sits at 7-3. The Jackrabbits, as we mentioned, have Illinois State tomorrow. Now remember, they've lost 3 games in a row. Then they end the season at UND. Doesn't get any bigger than that for the Jack. They have to win one of these last 2. They lose both, they're out of the tournament. It's as simple as that. UND sits at 6-4. They go to Murray State tomorrow. They have to win this football game. They get to 7 wins. It's going to be really hard for the committee, I think, to leave UND out with the kind of strength of schedule, which I think is going to project to be number 1 when the season is over. And then they host South Dakota State in the finale. We talked about that last week, how difficult that's going to be for the Jackrabbits to try and win up in Grand Forks. Here's Youngstown State. Youngstown is 6-4, home for Indiana State at Northern Iowa is what they have left. That is about as easy as it gets. And I'll put easy in quotation marks. You still got to win the games, but they have a pathway to get to 8-4 and a potential 13-14 seed. I really believe that. I know Sam Herder has Youngstown as a 16. I don't foresee that. I think they could be higher than that, knowing full well the Bison, if they win out, are going to be the number 1 seed in the tournament. Finally, SIU. Now the Salukis are in a real jam here. SIU hosts South Dakota and then ends the season at Illinois State. Now remember, though, they have 1 less Division I win because they played a D2 school. They have to win both games. Just flat out, they got to get to 8-4. If they split, that's not going to be enough to get them into the tournament with 6 Division I wins. That's, frankly, what's going to take for Southern Illinois to get into the tournament. So that is the playoff bubble and the teams that are on the fence right now for potentially getting in to the tournament. So we'll see what happens here over the next couple weeks, but it's going to be fantastic to see how this plays out over this stretch, because nothing is certain, frankly, on this, because as you look at how it plays out, it's a complete coin flip here. That Jacks game with Illinois State tomorrow, what is South Dakota State doing at quarterback? Are they starting their 3rd stringer again? I would imagine so. I don't think we're going to see Chase Mason the rest of the way. UND, pathway there potentially to win both. And then UND at 8-4, where do you put them in terms of the tournament? So that's what's shaping up here for the final weeks of the season. It's going to be fantastic to see how it plays out, because nothing is taken for certain on how this is going to go. Really interesting to see what's going to play out here over the next 2 weeks of the regular season. All right, a couple other things here before we wrap this segment. We've got 2 games here we got to focus on. I don't really want to get into the New York Football Jets playing yesterday. The only reason we're going to show it on our show is the fact that the Patriots were wearing their rivalry jerseys last night as they played the Jets. Let's show you the highlights from Foxborough last night, which did not go the way of my favorite football team. But the fact that Drake May, who was probably the guy least expected in this draft, has suddenly become the top guy in it. Jets got out to the lead. Justin Fields scored a touchdown, gave the Jets an early 7-0 lead, looking good. But back comes New England. Travion Henderson gets into the end zone for a touchdown. That made it a 14-7 New England lead. Then May floats one to the back of the end zone for a touchdown. Henderson had 3 scores in the game yesterday. Former Ohio State standout. He was A-OK for the Patriots last night. It was 21-7. Finally, the Jets did something late in the third quarter. This touchdown pass made it 21-14. All right, so they're back in it. Patriots kicked a field goal. Then disaster here. Excuse me, on the fumble that's picked up by the Patriots. They would recover that and set up in business then. The Jets continue to turn the football over here on 4th down. They can't do anything with it. They get stopped short. Excuse me. And the Patriots are able to run out the clock. And New England is all of a sudden, Patriots are 9-2 on this season. The Jets drop to 2-8 on the year. So the 3-week unbeaten streak is over for the Jets. In New England, right now, Patriots are the number 1 seed and have home field advantage throughout the playoffs. Excuse me on that, folks. Got a little tickle here, but they're going to be hard to beat. They got a defense with Mike Vrabel that's playing well. And the fact of the matter is they're running the football as well as they are. Sorry about that. Patriots are going to be an awfully hard team to beat, especially the fact if they have to go into New England and knock them off. They've already got a win over the Bills to their credit. They're setting up pretty good. So that's the start of Week 11 in the NFL season that happened last night with that win by the Patriots. As you heard here, each team is getting back out for the start of the second half in the 9-man championship game, which right now LLM trailing New Rockford Cheyenne 22-0 as the Rockets are sitting just 24 minutes away from going back-to-back state champions in 9-man football, which would be awfully, awfully impressive considering how good they have been for Elliot Belquist here over the last 2 seasons. Again, a reminder, Class A championship game is coming up after this one between Botno and Langdon Area-Munich. Then it'll be followed by the 2A championship with Minot North as they match up with Devils Lake. And then we wrap it up with the final game, Devils Lake and Bismarck Century and Fargo Davies is the final game at 6:30 to wrap up a busy day of football on WDAY. All right, we'll break here. We'll get a little ahead of schedule. We come back. Troy Mattern will join us here on set to chat about his Shanley Deacons being left out of the postseason and preview. He's calling the game today. We'll talk to him about the Big School Championship game as Hot Mike live on location here at the Fargo Dome rolls on Dakota Bowl Friday. We're back on WDAY2, Inforum.com, and WDAY Plus right after this. All right, welcome back, everybody. Hot Mike, final half hour on this Friday morning. Lemoore Litchfield Marion on the board now, 22-8 the score in the third quarter of the 9-man championship. This segment on Friday normally reserved for my dad. There's only one guy he'd sign off on preempting him. It's Troy Mattern. You guys are old friends, though. So
you know what? I watch your dad every week. He better be out there watching me because I feel pretty privileged to be able to take his time.
It's great.
Now, I don't always agree with his picks, but it's pretty special to always have your dad on.
I appreciate you doing this. I know you wish you were coaching today. This is not Shanley fan line, but I will open it up just because of how it played out. I talked about it on the show. You're 6-3. You have one of the best records in the state, and you didn't make the tournament. Now, on the other side, they're going to say, well, Troy, win one of those last 2 games.
Exactly. And we knew going in that the conference was, so you got, like you said, you got to be able to win the games that you got to win, and we didn't. But when we went back to the East-West, I was a big proponent of the QRF. I really was, and you don't think that it's going to come and affect you down the road, but here we are. My message back then, and it still is today, why don't we have the best 8 teams in the playoffs? Yeah. Especially when 44% of our games don't count now. You know, the first 4 of the 9 games, they don't count.
Yeah.
And I struggle that, the amount of time that these kids put in, you want to play a schedule that counts. So that's my biggest thing right now.
Now, it changed a couple years ago when Davies got left out. Is there a momentum to do this again?
I haven't heard anything of it. Hopefully, we'll be able to get, with the next rotation, get a couple more teams back in the East.
Yeah.
So the conference gets a little bit bigger, and then you're playing more conference games to which could balance it out. Because when you only have 6 teams, it's unfortunate because you don't have those extra games to be able to play. So hopefully in 27 we get more teams in the East, more teams in the state, and it just kind of balances.
Well, we know full well Minot North is going to be moved up by then. I'm interested to see how that affects for 3A football at that point.
Yeah, exactly. And, we hope Minot moves up, and then obviously the Grand Forks schools,
yes.
hopefully they'll move up.
Yep.
It's just, again, it becomes part of that travel. Again, we just want to get back to the EDC that it is in other sports, and why can't it be in football as well?
You've done tough locker rooms. How tough was this one after that game with Horace?
Yeah, it was extremely hard. We had a senior class that kind of rerid the ship based on what happened the year prior, and they put in the time. And, there were so many scenarios out there. One was just win. But after the game was over, a lot of our kids didn't even know we were out yet because the game just got over in West Fargo. So really, as they're going through the line, it started to get word that, man, not only did we lose, our season's over. So it really, again, I don't even think it hit the kids that night. And obviously, not only being a coach, but being a dad, it was really hard to see that for my kid. And obviously for all those seniors this was my first class when I got to Shanley that started with us in 4th grade. So obviously it's a very special class to me. And to see that locker room, but you talk about it, it's probably the toughest locker room I've been a part of in my career.
Yeah, you shared the photo on social media with you and Jax. I mean, as a dad, can you describe what that was like?
Yeah, it's funny because we just saw a picture of Cooper and Jax with the Fargo South guys back in the day when they're this big. They've lived football their whole lives. They wanted to play for Dad. I wanted to be able to coach my kids. So for that to be over now in the blink of an eye, it's obviously very special.
Tough.
The memories we've created, but more importantly, just the memories that I got to be a part of, see them grow up with their teammates, the time they put in. It's obviously a lot of special moments that my wife and I will share for a lifetime.
I think of you in this building, immediately 2013 comes to mind. What's your relationship with this building?
Yeah, I've been able to coach in 12 of these.
Unbelievable, man.
It's obviously, it's hard to be sitting here with you right now, but to be able to even say that I've been in 12 games, and every one of those is so unique and so cool. Obviously, you said 2013. The amount of talent on that field with Bismarck High and Fargo South was unbelievable. The amount of Division I talent was crazy. And then how can you forget about the Minot game just a couple years ago when just, again, the amount of talent on the field that game. And we were up 3 scores a couple different times and couldn't close the game. But, again, each one was so memorable. And that's why we work so hard as a coaching staff, because we know how it is. The kids only get 4 opportunities in a high school career to get here. When you coach, you have multiple opportunities, and that's why we do what we do. But a nice stat that I'm very proud of. Since 2010, when I became a head coach, everybody on my roster has been able to play in a Dakota Bowl.
Wow.
And that's pretty cool. And, you obviously got to be able to keep doing that. But to be able to say that every kid that's put on a jersey for me has been able to play in a Dakota Bowl, that's pretty special.
Were you ever nervous for one?
Oh, yeah. There's always nerves. As you settle in, once that first, couple series go. But, it doesn't matter if you're in your first year and you're in 27th year, there's always nerves, because you understand what these kids do and all the effort they put in, and you just want it for them. Because, again, like I said, we've been able to live it and be a part of it. Not every kid has, and that's what, if you talk to any kid, especially in our program, when we have year-end meetings, Dakota Bowl. To be able to have that as your standard in your program, and it's realistic, that's pretty cool for our kids to be able to understand that that's what's at hand.
So I had Feeney on the show yesterday. I think I know the answer to this question, but was there one that you came out saying, I know we're going to win? I'm assuming 06. Was that one?
Yeah, but, that wasn't the case either, because we lost to Central the year before, what was it, 7 straight years we played Bismarck High and the amount of talent they had. So I don't think there was ever a game that we were going in. The first year we won it, we were up against Central. I think it was like 28, 30 points in the second half. They cut it to a touchdown, and we had to battle. We had to stay ahead of that one. But every game is so unique. And, even when we beat Bismarck Century in 2022, we thought that was going to be a dogfight. We jumped on them early, 21-0, and that game was over in the first half.
Yeah.
So you just never know. Kids are kids. And it's amazing what can happen. And, but every game is always so cool and unique.
So, obviously, you're going to be on the call tonight with Sam. We're excited about that. You're calling the 3A game with Davies and Century. You've seen both of these teams. They played earlier in the year. Can you use that at all, or was that so long ago?
Yeah, I think that's so long ago. I think, Century's quarterback was out that game. But if you look at that game, it was 6-3 at halftime, and it was a hot night. I think Davies did a great job wearing down Century. Will that be the case again tonight? But Century, I think if there's any team defensively that can stop Davies, or when I say stop, I use that loosely because I did the call last week against Bismarck, and obviously following Davies throughout the year, I don't know if anyone can stop them. It's just, what can you do to gain a possession with a turnover or something? You got to be able to win the middle 8. Can you match that up to make that work? So there's a lot that's got to go right for Century just because Century's rolling, and it's they're going to be hard to stop.
What is it about Wayne's offense that just makes it so tough to stop? He watched yesterday. He gave him a hard time that broadcast-wise, it's not the prettiest, but, man, it's effective.
Yeah, I think it's because they're a true unit. When you got buy-in of the whole team, it starts up front with the front 7. When it's always mostly you talk about the front 5. Well, with Davies, it's the front 7 because the tight ends are such a part of it. They're just extended tackles. But I think what makes Davies really good this year is the added dimension of Musin, the quarterback run. It's one more dynamic you got to account for. So you can't throw that extra guy into the box on the run game because he can pull it. He's a 225-pound kid, and he's got 5 yards before he even looks. So I think that's the added dynamic that makes it hard for them. But you got to remember, their offense gets so much credit. Their defense is probably the most athletic defense I saw all year. They get after it on the defensive side of the ball, and that's what creates a lot of problems too.
When you look at, Wiggenbach's been in this game. You've coached against them in this game. Somehow they find they get here, and sometimes they play their best game of the season here.
Yeah, and they're a well-coached. Like you said, they're going to have a good plan.
Yeah.
And if plan A doesn't work, I know they're going to have B, C, D, E, and F too. And I think that's what Bismarck tried last week because you just got to find something that's going to stick because. And the thing with high school kids is you have to be assignment sharp for 8-minute drives, 9-minute drives. We try to get kids focused for a 20-second play, let alone an 8-minute drive. So it's difficult because if one kid screws up one assignment on one play, that's where they're getting all these big plays. Because if you're going to have to beat Davies, you're going to have to force them to go the length of the field, hopefully get a turnover. And I think Horace did a good job of that, making them drive the field. But you got to remember, then Horace only had 5 possessions.
Unbelievable. Think about that.
So you do the math either way. So the question is why are we not doing what Wayne's doing? Why am I trying to be 5 wide and maybe he's on to something?
Well, it's fun to watch. Your style of football is way more appealing.
And it's funny because
that.
My coaches laugh at me whenever it's Davies week. I have to go off and a couple years ago when we played him in the semifinals, we got snow. I was out shoveling snow on the field because I just can't sit and watch that scheme because, obviously my philosophy is totally different. But credit to Wayne, credit to his staff. He's obviously got kids that have bought in, and that's to be successful in anything, in any sport. If you get buy-in, you're going to have a chance to have success.
Tell me about from 2010 in the EDC to 2025. Is it just better talent, or why is the difference in football in that 15-year stretch?
I think the upper-end talent is probably similar, but there's just more talent on the teams.
Okay.
I think the rosters are a lot deeper. I think there's more upper-end talent. We've always had the upper-end talent. There's just more of them now. And I think the exposure that these kids get, they all now understand that they have an opportunity to play at many different levels of college football. And that wasn't the case before, but you got to understand, too, what's changed so much in the last 15 years is what these kids are doing to prepare themselves for not even high school football, but high school sports. Bigger, faster, stronger. The amount of diet.
Yep.
Who thought about a diet? McDonald's and but even my son alone. Chicken, rice as a high school kid. To even think that how important a diet was, you would never ever think of it.
No way.
These kids have, they understand what they have to do to be at that next level, and they definitely put the time in.
I got to ask, your old boss is playing tonight. Kevin Feeney and Moorhead are going and taking on Lakeville South. You and I both watched the Edina Minnetonka game, which you talk about high-level athletes all over the field. This is a contrast in styles as well because Lakeville South will throw it maybe once in the game.
Yeah, and again, that's going to come down to possessions too. And Moorhead's going to have to try to steal a possession because Lakeville obviously going to want to control the line of scrimmage, especially the way the Moorhead offense is playing. I don't know if how many possessions have they not scored on since Jet's been back.
Right.
It's unbelievable the high level that they're playing at and the amount of talent they have. So, like you said, a contrast of two styles. Something's going to give. Obviously, being indoors is going to be huge for Moorhead, even though it's 60 degrees outside today. But, it's going to be interesting. And obviously, Lakeville South's a really good football team, beating the defending champs in Maple Grove, which when I watched that game between Maple Grove and I watched Maple Grove a couple times this year, and that's That's a high level.
Maple Grove
team.
can compete.
Yeah.
I mean, they're
talented. Yeah.
at least 15 college guys, D1, D2 guys,
and
easy.
That's a perfect example of that. In high school football, you don't even, you got to show up.
Yep.
It doesn't matter. You got to show up.
Yeah,
especially
you're right.
This late in the season.
Let me ask you this, from your hockey background, and Moorhead obviously won the hockey championship. If Moorhead is able to do this, I think that's bigger than the hockey deal, because this is big boy football.
Yeah.
This is the highest level if they're able to win this thing.
No question. Obviously the Moorhead hockey is what
it's a huge
Moorhead's
deal,
known
but
for,
yeah,
exactly, for Moorhead to do this at the highest level, because you look at their schedule. I mean, it was talked about all off season, and obviously the grind that they had to go through, and obviously that prepared them for the postseason, because we found out that the Metro West is the best section, which I think everybody knows. So to be able to go through that gauntlet and prepare yourself for the playoff, but I think for Moorhead and Coach Feeney to win this state title, there's probably not a better story in the state of Minnesota.
You've done this with your sons. He did it with Trey.
Yeah.
Just describe that, him doing this. And Jet got hurt and then comes back.
Yeah, and I think it's obviously an added extra special moment for Coach Feeney and for any coach that gets to coach your own kid.
Yeah.
Especially at the youth level too. That's what dads do. They want to be part of their kid's career. Unfortunately, they don't get to do it at the high school level like we do. But it's a special bond, and it really, you just have that innate ability to understand what your kid wants. From the kid's spec, they also know what you want as a coach. So just that bond that you have is something that's unique, and it's really just having an extra coach on the field, because they've been doing it since they've been ball boys. Jet and Jax were ball boys together.
That's awesome.
When they were that big, Jet and Cooper were ball boys. So they've been around the game. They've seen it. They just know. Same thing with Coach Weirmeyer having Gus and Malachi and Truman. They've been around the game, and other kids understand that leadership gravitates to the other kids.
Tell me about what Coop's been doing this year with the Bison and Tim Pausik's staff.
Yeah, he's obviously a grind when you're a grad assistant, but he loves it. And like I tell him, if you could put up with Coach Paulik, you could put up with anybody. So
that's very true.
Yeah, but he loves it, and he just wants to stay around the game. And when you're a young college grad, you got to start somewhere. But to be able to be connected to this program, obviously, they're a national renowned program with the amount of connections they have across the country. He's just got to put his work in. He's got to put his head down and get to work, and he understands that. But to be around that staff each and every day, he understands. But he's really enjoying it.
Is that something he wanted to go down, or has that surprised you?
No, he actually wants to get into the operations side of football.
Wow.
Yeah,
okay.
More so on that, or the player development. Or, so he's just trying to navigate what he can do to stay in the game. But what a better way to do it than just get in as a grad assistant, see all the different aspects of what a high-level program does, and he could pivot once he's in. He could shift once he's in. But I think he's just trying to figure out what that dynamic's all about and what he wants to do when he gets out of grad school.
Couple minutes left here with Troy. Just tell me about tonight, your perspective up there. Is it just in the back of your mind like, man, we could have been here?
Yeah, I think every year you think you could be there, but I think especially this year, we legitimately thought we had a chance, and we thought we had the team. We had a cute, like we always say, sometimes it's better to be lucky than good. and that's, there were times, when we beat Mandan in 2022, we got lucky, there's just times when you get lucky. And but we thought we had the football team to be in it, but there's a lot that's going to go right. We know really for the last, I don't know how many years, the amount of parity in AAA football.
Oh, man.
There's a lot that's got to bounce your way. And unfortunately it didn't for us this year, but at the end of the year, we can be happy with what we accomplished. But, and I'm thankful for what DAY does for me to be able to call the game. It's a special moment for me to be able to, and, obviously be able to play both teams and understanding both teams. It'll be fun to call the night with Sam.
Last thing before I let you go, I know we did the story earlier this week of Bo Meyer coming back. I know how tight you are. You coach both of Bo and Landon. Can you describe what the Meyer family has gone through and how big a deal to have Bo back home now? Yeah,
first and foremost, we're just so prayerful that he is home, to get back in his home. But what that family and the extended family and the Shanley community and the baseball community had to go through, it's but on the other hand, the amount of support and prayers and everything that was out there to help support the Meyer family, it's really cool for everybody to be able to understand the importance of this. But we say a prayer for Bo every night, and it's obviously difficult. It's difficult for a twin brother, Landon.
Oh, man.
What he has to go through, and Grace as a sister, and then obviously Chris and Karen. I can't imagine being a parent, being in their shoes. Just in an instant moment, your life changes. But they've stepped up, and that's what parents do, right?
Yeah.
That's what families do. That's what communities do. But we're definitely in Bo's prayers, and hopefully day by day, moment by moment, something good continues to come out of this, and hopefully having him at home, they can just get some, normalcy back.
Just some peace there, right?
A little bit of more normalcy, but we'll continue to keep the Myers in our prayers. Absolutely. And hopefully day by day we get a step forward.
Great to see you, bud.
Right,
I wish
Dom.
you were coaching today. I know you're going to do a great job with Sam tonight. Thanks for doing this. We'll talk to you soon, okay?
All right, Dom. Appreciate having me
Troy
on.
Mattern joining us here. Shanley head football coach. He'll be on the call with Sam with a 6:30 game coming up later tonight. We'll take our last break. We come back. We'll wrap things up. I got a game to call. We got to get going. We'll wrap up Hot Mike right after this.
They're putting you to work?
I am. I'm doing the next game. All right, wrapping things up here from the Fargo Dome. Shout out first to Matt and Maddie back in studio. I think they're the only people left at WDAY today for getting us on the air. Appreciate them making Hot Mic possible here today on WDAY 2. Let's give a quick update here. We are late in the third quarter. LLM has come back. It's 22-16 in favor of New Rockford Cheyenne. So you can flip that on WDAY right after we're done. And then, of course, we've got the Class A championship coming up afterwards. Just a complete flip. It was 22-0 at halftime. This game is flipped on its head here in the third quarter. So setting up what's going to be, we thought it'd be a tight game. Looks like we're going to get that coming up here in the fourth quarter to wrap things up here on this Friday morning. We got plenty to get to. Let's do some what to watch before we wrap things up here on this Friday. All right, so here we go tonight. NBA Cup is continuing. That means the weird floor back at Target Center tonight. Wolves got the Kings, 7 o'clock on FanDuel Sports North. We've got the Gophers playing Oregon tonight, 8 o'clock on Fox. I think Minnesota's about a 25-point underdog in that one. And UND hockey in action tonight, taking on Arizona State. You can check that out 7 o'clock on Midco tonight. First time that the Sun Devils ever played in Grand Forks. That's coming up tonight, the start of a two-game set. Now, tomorrow, don't forget, of course, we're right back here for Bison Game Day. I'll be right below where I'm sitting right now, 10 a.m. on WDAY with myself, Jeff Kolpak, Sam, and Kyle Emanuel to get you ready for North Dakota State and Northern Iowa. It's the Missouri Valley finale for the Bison as they try to go unbeaten. Game coverage begins at 2:20, kickoff just after 2:30 on WDAY between the Panthers and the Bison. NDSU has not lost to Northern Iowa since 2014. So that's coming up tomorrow. Also, this weekend, the Wolves play again tomorrow night. Denver's back. This will be, I think, the third game with the Nuggets already, I think, this season. That's at 7 o'clock tomorrow night. We got Bison women's basketball coming up Sunday. North Dakota State taking on Nebraska. That's at noon on the Big Ten Network. We talked about that game yesterday with Jory Collins. Big challenge against the Huskers team that's rolling. And then, of course, the Vikings taking on the Bears at noon on Fox. Chicago's been red hot. The Vikings trying to string a couple wins together after losing last week. They go out on the road for the next two games. So we'll see what happens if they're able to do that. We'll have full highlights of that coming up on the show on Monday. That's going to wrap it up here from the Dome. A thanks to our guests today, to Trent Fraley, to Justin Fletschock, Matt Fetsch for joining us, Josh Krivarchka, and to Troy Mattern. If you missed any of the show, you can podcast it later today at Inforum.com. You can watch a full replay on WDAY+. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. We're looking forward to a great day of Dakota Bowl football. We will see you back in studio on Monday. Have a great weekend. We'll see you at the Dome tomorrow and back on Monday. Have a great weekend, everybody.